everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have a first-time director and producer. He has a new movie out. It's called Jammin. It's in post-production. We're looking at mid to late 2024 release. I have with us today Joshua McFadden. Josh.
Thank you. It's great to be on.
Thank you. And I had a chance to watch the trailer. It looks amazing. Looks like a fun horror comedy. Tell us a little bit about Jammin.
Yeah, so Jammin', I wrote it all the way back, started writing it my junior year of high school. I was in a film class senior year. I wrote it in there. And out of high school, I started getting more and more into acting. I'd been acting professionally for about 4 years out of high school. And then after doing enough films, scouting out all the right people, I eventually started meeting with people and getting it going. And I just been on a crazy track since about late 2021 when we shot our very first teaser trailer as a proof of concept. And we just been rolling ever since then. Now here we are, late 2023, and we're, at the point where I can see a light at the end of the tunnel with this, which is really great.
Amazing. Now, story-wise, tell us a little bit.
So Jammin' is a relatively conventional sort of horror slasher. It's about this group of friends go up to a cabin. They're going to have a great party weekend. And lo and behold, the police are there. They're in search of a recently missing person. And people start getting picked off by not one, but multiple different killers. And now it's up to the only man who knows what's going on, knows what's up. He's this former cop. He's driven by revenge. He lives in this shack out in the woods. People think he's a killer himself. He's the only man who can stop this big ragtag ensemble of slashers and, save the surviving friends.
Now, and I watched the trailer, did you get any inspiration from the Evil Dead movies?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Evil Dead is my bread and butter. It's my biggest inspiration. Evil Dead 2 is my favorite movie of all time. So, yes, big Evil Dead inspiration on this movie.
The main character definitely has an Ash vibe to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Ash and Dennis Hopper's character from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Those were the two big inspirations that went into that character.
So as a new young filmmaker, there's a lot of young filmmakers who watch my channel, or ones who are thinking about making their film. What are some struggles that you've ran into so far?
A lot of struggles I've come into with this would be, I think one of the biggest things in doing a feature film, especially a horror film, is people are always talking about, how popular horror is and how big of a genre it is and how there's such a big chance anything will get seen. And it's true because there's so many people crave it. So many people are out there watching it and looking for new things. What's new? What can they watch? But sort of the other end of that sword is, at the same time, it's a very saturated market for films. It's a very competitive genre for just people's attention, so setting yourself apart from the others and showing why people should watch your movie, why they should, be a part of your audience, that is one of the biggest struggles early on. And if you're going into it with no network, it's something that feels challenging, but over time, you'll sort of overcome that as you build up your network and build up the people who, have more know-how than you or have more insight than you or even just think similar to you. It's a very important thing to have.
And I talked to a lot of filmmakers, and I asked them that question because now, especially with streaming services, I'm not saying anyone, but pretty much anyone now, if you have an iPhone, you can pretty much make a indie horror film and post it up on a streaming service. And there's no filter now. There's no gatekeepers on what's being made or whose movies get there. So, even if you are a great filmmaker or has a project that is something special that people will love to watch, how do you get tossed into that pile, and how do you decipher yourself from the bad stuff that's getting made compared to the good stuff?
I think a lot of it is like knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, which is a hard thing to do as an artist of any kind, like recognize what you're strong at. Everyone's so eager to put themselves down and, only talk about the bad parts, but, you gotta recognize your strengths, recognize what about those strengths set you apart from the others, and, play into that, and, still be honest. You don't want to have an ego about it, but, if you got something that, you feel is different for these reasons, play up those reasons, show those specific things. And, people will say what they'll say about, the other things that don't really set you apart, but it's all a learning experience, and you'll learn something from it, even whether it's good or bad. It's something you can pull.
Is it nice to make a horror movie where you don't take yourself too serious? From just going drop, you want this to be a B movie. You want this to be serious.
Yeah, I know. Just taking it seriously. I have nothing but respect for the people who do that, because that is a hard thing to do. But it's just it takes so much more weight off it, and it's already a weighty process, whether it's serious or not serious. But there's a lot of weight lifted off your shoulders when it's a film that you're not taking seriously, that, you just want to have fun with, and you want to be there laughing with the audience when they laugh at something in your movie, whether you wanted them to laugh at it or not. That's my preferred way to do it. But, everyone's got their own way of tackling things.
So the double chainsaw that I see in the trailer, what gave you the idea to do a double chainsaw, first of all? And number two, how did you create that?
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed. You picked up on that. That was one of the things. I first wrote the movie because the whole thing came from a conversation I'd had with one of my classmates in my old high school film class. Like, oh, we could make this great movie. And we bounced all these ideas back and forth. None of them made it into any of the drafts of the script. But the thing I took away from that conversation when I was sort of thinking back on more the idea of, I could really do this, was double-bladed chainsaw. I don't know why that was the one thing for like, that would be cool. And, it's not something that's really been done in movies a whole lot before either. I know it comes up in a few video games, and there's a couple of little things here and there, but no one's really put that in a movie before. So I thought, that's my big mark, is a chainsaw with one blade right next to the other. But no, that was like the first thing I had a main focus on. The first teaser trailer we did as a proof of concept was just about building the chainsaw and getting that ready to fight monsters with. And we had built that. I should have brought one out to show. It was in the other room right now, but we built two of them for the movie. One of them was made, they were both made out of those sort of Halloween chainsaw props. You can get them at like Spirit and Home Depot, and they spin the chains. And we had rigged a drill motor into one of them to get the chains to spin with a little bit more speed. And then the other one, we had just put these two fake haunted house chainsaw blades on. That was our stunt one and our hero one. They were a wide end, and all this metal was screwed into them. It turned out to be extremely fragile. When the movie ends up coming out, you can look out for all the scenes where the back handle of the chainsaw is either held on with tape and flopping around, or our actor has to just kind of bare hand the back of it, and it's kind of endearing.
I love it. So, making a film, indie film in general, it's a lot, especially the first time. It's a lot of pieces you got to put. You got to find a cast. You got to find a location. You have to, script, props. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah. The post-production of this was insane because, I had a little bit of experience directing short films in the past, but, nothing with any sort of weight behind it. Nothing. It was all just, my friends are here. Let's make a little short film while we're here. Nothing, anything that big. So I was really kind of just aping off of what I had seen acting on other people's sets, just kind of being a fly on the wall. So there were a lot of responsibilities that in hindsight, I really should have tried to find more people to take hold of, like special effects. We had someone on board for, it wasn't turning out to be a project that person wanted to be a part of. So they ended up walking after 2 days on set. And so they were kind enough to leave all their supplies with us. But, I was having to improv a lot of stuff. A lot of the other production assistants and people on set were having to come on. And then finding and building props was probably one of the easier parts of it, just because, I just find and collect things in general. So, searching for that specific thing and a, budget considerate price to get it at, that was an easy thing. And, building things like the chainsaw, the double barrel shotgun is a deceptively hard prop to find for movies. Nobody makes like good looking toys or, props that you can just use. So I had to build that thing out of scratch too. And, monster costumes and things like that. Those sort of came as a second nature to me. I love sculpting and painting and creating things like that. So it was a good way to sort of, let my mind run free in the midst of doing all the logistical side of things, getting the schedules together, finding the locations. Our main location for the movie, we didn't get hammered down until probably 3 weeks before we started shooting, and we were in post or pre-production for 8 or 9 months. And all the actors, we had all the shoot days set. We knew the scenes we were going to film. All the actors were scheduled in. We just didn't know the location. And like beautiful act of, whatever. We had gotten a family friend of mine was willing to lend their house to us that was under construction, so they didn't mind blood going on the walls or people fighting in it. So we really lucked out really big time there. It was a great location out in the woods. It rained nonstop, which really shut down a lot of our shoots. But yeah, it's a big frantic thing. The whole time in my life is kind of a blur looking back on it now. I struggle to remember what came first and how I interacted with all these things are happening around each other, but I pull it off somehow.
Now, will there be a sequel?
A sequel.
What did you put in your mind making this movie? It could be a sequel.
There could be, yeah. I feel like baby steps. I'm considering my options for what to do after Jammin' Dead, but there's definitely room for a sequel, and I feel like, if the right idea ever came to me, and, things have come and gone, certain ideas that I would play around with, and I've sort of written things down just in case, but, we'll see what happens when it comes out and how it's received and, what other ideas I have that might come next.
Awesome. So who are some horror directors that you got an inspiration
from? Sam Raimi, obviously,
Yeah.
Not what needs to be said there, but some other directors I've really liked. Michele Soavi, he the Italian horror film director. He put out a great film in the 90s called Cemetery Man. Deep cut, but I love it. Recommend it if you can find it. Michele Soavi, Dan O'Bannon, Return of the Living Dead. We have, we have, Tom Matthews, who plays Freddy in, Return of the Living Dead. We got him on board, so that was a great thing to have in there, and that really sort of made it feel right with the influence that we had in it, and things like that. Yeah.
Now, is it hard to stay with the formula that most horror movies do? Is it hard to just go with the norm and say, okay, this has been successful, let me stay this way. This is the safe route. Is it hard compared to go, hey, let's do something a little bit different than what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, I like familiarity, but I also like mashing things up and mixing it up, throwing something from something else in there and making something new out of the combination there. So, if I was to stay a little bit closer to the conventional, slasher movie, horror movie formula, I think I'd have struggled to, not throw something else in there that changes it up a little bit, makes it stand out a little bit. It just kind of comes naturally to me to want to throw my own flair into it, want to throw my own style, even if not everybody else gets it. At the end of the day, it's still something to make it its own, and that's what is really important to me.
You think it makes it easier since you've been an actor for a long time? Do you think it's easier to first work on the opposite side of the camera, then become a director? Do you think it makes it a little bit easier? You can kind of relate with the actors and actresses, and hey, oh, I know how that looks. That looks better. You think that's the route that most filmmakers should probably go first, or at least give it a try?
I think it definitely is very beneficial. Yeah. Just because, and on Jam and Dead, I had a lot of disagreements with some of the actors, and we all ended the film on good terms with each other, and we're all still on good terms. But there were points where people ran a little raw because I didn't quite fully understand the production side of things compared to the more creative side of things. But it definitely helped a lot, taking on a task like this, just going straight into it, not really doing any short films or anything like that to build that experience at first. It really helped in giving direction and giving notes and knowing what works and what doesn't work, and knowing how to tell the actors, because I act in a sort of style where I try to just make the project I'm working on my own. If a director has a line they want me to read a specific way, I'll read it that way. But a lot of the times I'll try to make it my own, try to personalize it to, what I have figured out for the character. And, I try to impart that on a lot of my cast too, that, this movie is written in this specific way, but, don't need to follow it super closely, make it your own. If a line doesn't feel right to you, change it. If there's a line that I want you to get a specific way, I'll tell you, but, I brought you on because I feel your talents are good enough, and, I'm confident you can make something special of it.
I just feel like when it comes to hard acting, I could be wrong. I feel like there's always room for improvisation, that you get in maybe dramas or comedies or so forth.
Yeah. Well, horror and comedy, they're opposite sides of the same coin. And, I think they both thrive off of improvisation and spontaneity, because a horror movie without any spontaneity isn't going to land, just like a comedy movie without any spontaneity. The fear and the laughter, they both, need to come from an unexpected place. And, you just can't make it work without that spontaneity.
I totally agree. And that's why I love horror. I mean,
yeah.
I love all genres of movies, but horror is definitely my favorite by far.
Mm-hmm. Everyone loves a good surprise.
I know. I love fear. I love haunted houses. I love all that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Josh. So this is the fun part of the interview. I'm pretty sure you've seen this before, but now I'm going to ask you 3 hard questions.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Who is your favorite final girl?
My favorite final girl? Ooh. I'm gonna go a more recent pick with this. I'm gonna say Sienna from Terrifier 2. I thought she was really great. Just coming around the end, really, really standing up for herself. Harder than a lot of the other ones, and I thought that was great. I thought it was really great in that.
I agree. That's amazing final girl. Amazing final girl.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. I'm gonna bounce off of that. And so you can't say Ash from Evil Dead.
Okay.
Who's your favorite final guy?
Final guy. I'm going to say either Lefty Enright, Dennis Hopper's character from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, or I'm forgetting his name. I'm completely blanking on it right now, but the final guy from Demons. He gets his samurai sword. He rides into the movie theater on a dirt bike, and he's hacking demons down. They're playing Fast Shark. Like, you know, that's the kind of stuff I live for in movies. That's the kind of stuff I strive to make. And I
love it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because there's not that many final guys. Like, I actually did a top 5 list recently of my top 5 final guys. And like, I was sitting there thinking about, like, there's not that many final guys. There's probably 20 maybe.
No, it's really weird. It's sort of, I guess everyone sort of tries to go off of some, I don't know if you would say sexist or not, but it's just the mindset that, oh, that's the guy. So, you know, he's the strong man. So we got to kill him off first to make it seem like it's hopeless. But, you know, I feel like, you know, people can play around with that a little bit more, you know, right? Put a little more creativity behind who's the strong character, you know, flip the gender on its head and, you know, have a bit more fun with that. Play with the expectations.
Sam Raimi was the one who definitely spearheaded that with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the ultimate final guy, which I have to, I'm like, I have to exclude him because that's my answer. Ash is
that would be anybody's answer. He's the go-to.
Yes. All right. Final question. What is a off-the-wall indie horror movie that no one's ever seen that you love, that you think no one's ever seen that you love, that you can recommend?
Off the wall indie horror nobody's ever seen that I could recommend. I'm gonna say, God, there's so many decisions here. I'm gonna repeat myself from earlier when I mentioned Cemetery Man, because it's from the 90s horror movie. I saw that about a year ago, and I've I'm going to change my mind there. I'm going to change this. You can sort of see it in the background there. It's a little blurred out, but it's not necessarily an indie film, but it's a deep cut. It's a very cult classic film, Phantom of the Paradise. It's the 70s glam rock version of Phantom of the Opera. It's got inspiration from things like Faust and Portrait of Dorian Gray, and it's a very similar flavor to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And it's just cult classic in the making, a true cult classic. You know, very few people have seen it. And it's one of those ones where more people need to see it. More people need to appreciate it for how amazing of a film it is, because it's one of my all-time favorites.
That's amazing. I'm putting it on my list, by the way. Now I got to check it.
Absolutely. Please check it out. It's worth every minute. Every minute of it from start to finish is just the best time you'll ever have.
Mine is, I might have said it a couple times, but Mandy. I don't know if a lot of people have seen this, but I feel like they haven't. And it's Nicolas Cage in it, but I feel like a lot of people have seen it. Mandy is amazing. I mean, it's a work of art.
Oh, yes.
Even if you're not a horror fan, watch Mandy. I mean, I have the Funko Pops in it. I love Mandy.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful, beautiful looking movie. It's a great story. I loved that movie. And God, when he's forging the axe and he's coming in with the chainsaw, I've never seen a movie that can balance such an artistic and intense visual direction and editing and style, and mix that with, you know, we're having a chainsaw fight. He's forging his own crazy looking axe. He's hitting super acid, and, you know, just that mix of camp and art, and it just comes together so beautifully.
And it blends light and dark, like light, happy aspect to it, and you get this dark, and then it just goes back and forth. The score, I mean, it's just a beautiful made movie.
It's so great. It's so great. I love that movie. I would definitely recommend that one to more people as well.
So, Josh, where can everyone find you, my friend?
You can find me. I'm on Instagram. I'm the Amazing Pizza Man. You can also find Jammin Dead on Instagram at Jammin Dead Movie. It's on Facebook too. You can watch the trailers for Jammin Dead on YouTube. You just look them up, the Jammin Dead trailers. You can also find more interviews with myself and some of the other cast across other YouTube channels. So there's a lot out there to check out for myself and for Jammin Dead.
Amazing, man. Listen, I hope when it comes out, you get me a screener, and I would love to have you back on.
Absolutely, yes. I'd be happy to show you.
Most definitely, most definitely. I would love to have you back on to talk about it. All right, everyone. Check out my man, Josh McFadden. Check out Jammin Dad. Check out the YouTube. Check out Instagram. Go and check it out. And check it out next year when it comes out. Josh, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on to the Horror Realm.
Pleasure's been all mine, Travis. Thank you.
You're welcome, my friend. Everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.